Craig's never shown an interest in beekeeping before, but that's the sound of him buying 2,000 worker bees rather than doing his self-assessment. Craig, you live in a 6th floor flat. The deadline is 31st of January. Less distraction, more action.
Don't be like Craig. Visit gov.uk/self-assessment today. Payment support may be available.
The number one resolution for people last year was to save more money, but nearly half gave up by February. Don't let that be you. Download Rocket Money to reach your financial goals this year. Track your spending, cut waste, and automate savings in one simple app. Rocket Money shows you all your expenses and categorizes them so you know exactly where your money's going and where you're overspending. From there, the app cuts waste by canceling your unused subscriptions and lowering your bills. No customer service needed. With that money freed up, the app will automatically set some cash aside for your goals, whether it's an emergency fund, paying off debt, or saving for vacation. Rocket Money's got you covered. Users love the app with over 186,000 five-star ratings. And on average, users can save up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Make saving money a priority this year. Go to rocketmoney.com/cancel to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/cancel. rocketmoney.com/cancel.
5 years ago, I was paying $65 a month for my subscriptions. Today, those same subscriptions cost $111, and I don't even use half of them anymore. That's why now I use Rocket Money to manage my subscriptions for me. The app gives you a list of all of your subscriptions and reminds you of upcoming payments, so you're not hit with any surprise charges. On top of that, it also sends you alerts when subscription prices go up, so you always know the price you're paying. If you decide you no longer want a subscription, you can cancel it right from the app. No customer service needed. And the best part is, Rocket Money even reaches out and tries to get you refunded for some of the money you lost. On average, people that cancel their subscriptions with Rocket Money save $378 a year. And overall, Rocket Money has saved its members $880 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Go to rocketmoney.com/cancel to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/cancel. rocketmoney.com/cancel.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with me, Kevin Day, and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire. You're back in Liverpool, your happy place.
I am. It is great to be back. I'm back in the flat. It's exam week, or exam fortnight at present. And for reasons I've never quite worked out why, they always make me the chief invigilator of quite a few exams. So I go into these rooms because I'm a big mouth, so therefore they know that they'll hear me. And the trouble is, Kevin, I feel such a fraud because this morning I was doing immunology and genealogy, lots of ologies, and I was sort of supervising this exam, and I looked at the exam paper. I couldn't even pronounce the words, let alone work out what the potential answers were. So, some of my academic colleagues are just absolutely amazing. And the reason why I feel such a fraud is, so I'll go into class next week and my opening line will be, "All the Glazers are a bunch of twats, aren't they?" And it just doesn't have that academic gravitas, does it?
Well, I think it does, but correct me if I'm wrong, Kieran, but you may have misunderstood the role of exam invigilator here. Because it's been a long time, but as far as I remember, it's not your job for them to put their hand up and say, "Sir, can you help me out with question 3 here on immunology?" So it doesn't matter how, you're just there to look stern, but you'd be a terrible invigilator. You're just Mr. Softy.
Well, I am Mr. Softy, yes. I even, and I shouldn't really be saying this, I lent somebody a pencil for their multiple choice bits because I thought, well, God, if they put it in biro, that's going to cause issues, and I had a spare pencil. I've got, as you can imagine, I've got a very full pencil case.
Is that a euphemism?
I'm not Cliff Richard. No,
I've never imagined the size of your pencil case, Kieran. It's never crossed my mind, to be perfectly honest. Also, I'm hardlining this sort of thing. Somebody says I haven't got a pencil, say, "Well, you failed this exam, then, haven't you?" Really, I mean, that's exam 101. Bring a pencil in for the multiple choice. It's Newsday, Kieran. There's no huge standout headline stories today, which means I might spend some time moaning about the transfer. It's pouring with rain in London, which means I'm absolutely not allowed out of the house,
Oh, I can imagine.
especially since the episode with Dickie when I went to the Palace exhibition in a monsoon. So being confined to quarters makes it much harder to avoid the transfer window. As a Palace fan, I came off all the WhatsApp groups post Macclesfield. Went back on the WhatsApp groups just in time for Ollie Glasner to have his meltdown. So came off again, and then came back on again today to see that Mateta might be. If you're a journalist and you're listening to this and you're involved in speculation about the transfer window, shame on you. Really, you're upsetting idiots. It's not good. You're really exploiting the emotionally immature about it. If I see the phrase expressed interest in, possibly considering a bid, maybe looking to strengthen, all of which are followed by WhatsApp groups going, oh, we're selling all up. They mean nothing, these things. It's just, oh dear. Anyway, okay, let's get on with some proper news because it's been 4 minutes since we started. And we've talked about pencils. No, it's too corny, the Shakespearean. I'm just wondering, it's a very old joke in the English literature exam whether the pencils are 2B or not 2B. But there you are. Hey,
hey.
everybody listening to this, we go, oh, for the love of God, Princess Julian, our live producer, he'll be quietly applauding that one. He will be, our Shakespeare expert. It's an interesting one, Kieran. I don't know who's made this report, but someone is claiming that 9 out of 10 teams in English football's top 4 divisions expect to post pre-tax losses. Now, part of me thinks that what you've been telling me recently, that's not too bad, 9 out of 10. That at least means 1 out of 10 isn't, basically. So 9 clubs are all right.
Yeah. I don't think this is a huge surprise to anybody that has been connected to the world of football finance. But I think there's lots of people who the world of accounting and finance talk to outside. Because you and I, we just assume that everybody loves football as much as we do.
Of course.
And that's why you've always said that if you go to a wedding and you're sat next to somebody and it's 3:00 and they don't like football, sort of what am I going to do for the next 2 or 3 hours? It's sort of, this is going to make a long afternoon even longer. But this is a report out from BDO, who are a firm of accountants and sort of and so on. And by all accounts, they have been talking to finance directors of clubs in the 92. And surprise, surprise, they're saying, we are going to lose money. And so that is the concern. Well, why are they losing money? It's because they can't control costs. And when we talk about costs, we're talking about player costs, both transfer fees and wages, which are running ahead. I did the account. Well, I looked at the accounts for, I think I was talking to a club it was Crewe, and they're losing £1 million a year. And I'm going, well, you used to be on my good step. You were always one of those clubs which were, and you and I, we're old enough to remember the old days of Crewe under Dario Gradi and David Platt was there, and quite a few other players that went on to improve, as they went through their careers, and that means that the clubs are reliant on owners, and that's the issue, because if you're relying on owners, let's say if 90% are losing money, we're talking 80 clubs plus in the Premier League and elsewhere. They are reliant on the finance director effectively phoning up the owner once a month and saying, it's payday in 4 days. You normally send us across a bank transfer to cover the wages because that's our biggest single outgoing. I'm assuming you're still okay for it this month. Yeah. And that's fine until the phone goes dead, i.e. it's the Chancery line, as they call it in... And we saw that also with Di Younger at Reading, and we've seen that on 2 or 3 other clubs already. So most owners, and this is an eternal risk. And if you think about it, if we've got 80 clubs in English football, and that's not even taking into account what we have in the National League, and you've got 12 payroll. You've got 12 paydays a year. Well, 80 times 12 is quite a big number.
Yeah.
So
Are you sure you should be invigilating exams, Kieran?
it's not it's 960, but
Yeah. I know you don't like to embarrass me by doing the mental arithmetic while I'm frantically trying to scribble numbers down on the paper. Yeah,
so that's 960 risk points in a year, as far as football clubs are concerned, and that's where I think football has sort of tied itself in knots in terms of its inability to control the cost. And let's face it, as fans, you or I, we talk about sustainability, but actually we want our clubs, as does I suspect the vast majority of fans who listen to this show and the vast majority of fans that we interact with outside of this show. It's who are we signing? Just pay him. Just pay him, because it's not directly coming out. I know we know indirectly some of it's going out of our pocket, but actually most of it's coming out of somebody else's pocket. And therefore there is a huge ongoing issue. At the same time, the report said that there is still huge interest in football. 2/3 of the clubs that they spoke to said, "Yeah, we've had sort of serious or semi-serious interest in terms of buying us as a football club over the last 12 months." Now, it has to be repeated that football attracts fly-by-nights, chancers, tire kickers, fantasists, and lunatics in vast numbers. And some of those approaches will be knocked back, and a lot of the time, the incumbent owners will say, "Well, we're pretty happy as things are. We don't want to sell," but we are reliant on the find a bigger fool theory to operate within football, and we've seen it. What happens when it doesn't work in both rugby union and rugby league? I'm based in the northwest, and we've lost Salford Red Devils as a rugby league club in the last couple of months. And you've got to hope that there is somebody who goes, I can turn this club around. I've got a great vision, and so on. Who will buy the club and act in an appropriate egalitarian way in terms of being an owner.
Well, we've seen a couple of cricket finance stories this week, which has led people to contact us, say, "Is it time for the price of cricket?" No, it's not. Anybody out there?
On behalf of our wives and our
anybody out there thinking it's time we had a summer series price? No. Although I did notice that further to our story last week, or our question last week about Sunderland's huge list of things that you can't take into the game, people got in touch with us to say, at Old Trafford, the cricket ground, you can't take phone battery charges in. Which is exactly so, and then you're there for 8 to 10 hours. So I said that's something we'd look into, but I did that as a way to not have to deal with it myself. Basically, but you touched on a couple of issues there, Kieran, which I think are very interesting. First of all, my own hypocrisy as a football fan when it comes to the transfer window, because at the same time as I'm fed up with Palace fans worrying about us selling players, I'm demanding of my owners why we aren't buying players, basically, and have no interest in how we finance that or how we pay those wages. I just want us to bring, when we bought Esse from Millwall, I had no idea whether he was good or bad, but we brought a player from Millwall, so I was really happy. That's how it works, unfortunately. But it also comes down to something as well when transparency. Like you always say that despite the outward appearances of Palace as a kind of basket case circus car, we're actually quite a well-run club financially. But I don't know how much of Harris and Blitzer and Woody Johnson, I don't know how much of their money is going towards paying our club's wages. I don't know how much of their, because they don't tell us, and they don't have to. But I just assume on a weekly basis that we're chugging along quite happily. But the most important thing you say that and I know this is not a particularly good analogy because a lot of these companies are franchises, but if I was the CEO of Greggs, for example, who have got hundreds of franchises, hundreds of shops around the country, and if I was told that 90% of those shops were posting massive losses, I'd be asking questions about how the company was run. And I don't think there's any private business in the world that wouldn't be asking questions if 90% of their outlets were posting these huge pre-tax losses. And yet we've reached a stage where we don't shrug it off, but we're certainly, even on you and I, when people say to us, well, what's the solution? We don't know, apart from starting again. We don't know. So it just means that every year we'll have this. And you just hope that next year it's not 9.5 out of 10 teams, or the year after that it's 10 out of 10 teams.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I think what you said at the start was it isn't out a microcosm of how we feel about things on a broader scale financially, in that I want a better health service, I want better roads, I want better education for my grandchildren. I want to be safe on the streets, but I don't want to do that from paying more taxes.
Yeah,
and it's exactly, and we as football fans, we want to keep our best players, we want to recruit better players, but you go and put 20p up, you increase the price of a pack of Starburst by 20 pence, and it's pitch forks at dawn.
Ed, I love the way you always go to sweets and chocolate for your economic. Well, the other thing is, politicians won't do it because it takes time. The Premier League,
and it loses votes.
And it loses, exactly. So the people who run the EFL and the Premier League, they're not going to turn around and say, I'll tell you what, we've had this cracking idea. We think we can solve football's finance problems, but it will take 20 years, because they're not going to get the credit for when it happens. So they've got no real interest in coming up with a macrocosmic solution to sort this problem out. So, two clubs at a smaller level, Kieran, that we've been talking about for quite some time now. The first one, Tranmere, it looks like there's going to be some resolution here.
Yes, friend of the show, Matt Slater. I hold Matt in the highest of regard. I think he's an absolutely brilliant journalist. He has broken the story that Mark Palios came out with a statement a few weeks ago to say, yes, we are making progress, but I don't want to give away any further information. It looks as if the prospective owners of Tranmere Rovers Football Club are going to be Ascent Capital Partners.
Oh,
now that does not strike me as a bunch of lads who used to go and play jumpers for goalposts and kicking the ball against the wall when they were 7 years old.
Yeah,
and it turns out that is the case. They are an organisation that provides financial advice to not just the wealthy, Kevin. Not even the wealthy, the ultra wealthy.
Oh,
so we're talking producer Guy and beyond in terms of levels of wealth. These people all have gold plated everything. And Matt gave some, Matt, as always, does a very thorough job. And it was interesting that one of the people from Asset Capital Partners, he posted not a blog, but a report on LinkedIn, which is actually these days becoming a very, very useful source of glorified gossip, but a lot more than that. And he said there's two ways to make money out of football. First of all, you can buy the club, or secondly, you can buy the infrastructure. And we prefer to buy the infrastructure.
Oh,
so again, that's not saying these are people that want to invest and elevate Tranmere Rovers to try to get into the Championship. And I know that was Mark Palios's policy, and it has not quite worked out. If you take a look at Tranmere, they are looking to move to a new ground somewhere on the Wirral. They have made some fairly good investments, both sort of domestically and overseas, and tying up partnerships as well, going beyond football. And this is all the stuff which bores us to tears as football fans, because we're just interested in who's he going to play at left back on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it is an intriguing one. They did ultimately a failed attempt from an American consortium, which. And included in this American consortium, this is around about 12 months ago, was Donald Trump's personal lawyer and Rocky ASAP, a person of musicianship. and I think at least one of those caused the EFL owners and directors test to go. I think probably pushing it a bit far there, lads.
Yeah. Are you suggesting that Rocky ASAP may not be the name on his birth certificate? It might
Possibly.
be. He might be one of the Berkshire ASAPs. Who knows?
Exactly.
Uh, he's not Donald Trump's lawyer anymore, is he? I presume. So
I think is it Joe Pompliano or something? Well, if he is, he's probably fairly busy, perhaps he's going to work for Zoopla or
yeah.
Rightmove in Greenland for all we know.
Well, see, there's one thing working for Donald Trump, you learn to keep a straight face, didn't you, Marlies?
Yes.
So, for example, today when he tells the people of Denmark they'd all be talking Japanese now if it wasn't for the Americans, because he knew, at least he knew there was a war. He hasn't quite got who was fighting who in that war, but but God love him. So, what was that site you said? Was it Tin? Did you say
LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. I beg your pardon.
LinkedIn,
Sorry,
yes.
I thought
Yeah, you're mixing up LinkedIn and Tinder there.
I was mixing that. Don't be. There's a gap in the market there for LinkedIn and Tinder, isn't there, for lonely executives in a hotel room at night? I'm looking for a job and a shag. Let's have a word with producer guy.
That sounds like a Morrissey lyric.
It does, doesn't it? It's looking.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
The number one resolution for people last year was to save more money, but nearly half gave up by February. Don't let that be you. Download Rocket Money to reach your financial goals this year. Track your spending, cut waste, and automate savings in one simple app. Rocket Money shows you all your expenses and categorizes them, so you know exactly where your money's going and where you're overspending. From there, the app cuts waste by canceling your unused subscriptions and lowering your bills. No customer service needed. With that money freed up, the app will automatically set some cash aside for your goals. Whether it's an emergency fund, paying off debt, or saving for vacation, Rocket Money's got you covered. Users love the app, with over 186,000 five-star ratings. And on average, users can save up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Make saving money a priority this year. Go to rocketmoney.com/cancel to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/cancel. rocketmoney.com/cancel.
I didn't even realize I was wasting $415 a month until I downloaded Rocket Money. I thought I had my finances under control until the app laid out all my spending and categorized it for me. Takeout, shopping, and unused subscriptions were quietly draining my account. And as a result, my savings took a back seat. But Rocket Money doesn't just tell you what you're wasting money on. It takes action to save you money. First, the app looks at your income and monthly expenses and calculates how much you can safely spend each day to stay under budget. Rocket Money also finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you and even negotiates better rates on your bills so you have more money in your pocket. On average, Rocket Money members can save up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Users love the app with over 186,000 five-star ratings. It's time to simplify your finances and take control of your money. Go to rocketmoney.com/cancel to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/cancel. rocketmoney.com/cancel.
The word torrid these days, Kieran, is nearly always only heard on Sky Sports, basically, when someone's having a torrid season. I think it's fair to say that Hamilton Academical are having a torrid season. We thought a couple of weeks ago, Kieran, that the news may have got better for them with prospective new owners, but it's not, unfortunately, is it?
Yeah, there do appear to be new owners who are called Morley Sports Management. They are the owners of Haverfordwest in the Plaid Cymru League. So yeah, that's a bit of background. They're also the owners of Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Are they?
No, yeah. So sort of not well known for football, but I've not heard a lot about Ohio Valley Wrestling, and I want to find out more. So perhaps I'll do some
I think your luck is in, because one of our listeners, right from the start, Mark Cole over there in America, is one of the world's leading expert on the history of wrestling.
Yes.
So if you want to hear about Ohio, I presume Ohio Valley wrestling is for people who haven't got the energy to wrestle at high altitude.
It could be,
I imagine wrestling is a lot more difficult at high altitude.
Yes.
And cold in the leotard as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I couldn't see giant haystacks in a.
No. So this company is this company Morley, right? Is this the one with one employee registered on there?
Yeah, I think that was the
So,
one, but they do appear to be around for a bit. No, sorry, the company, and then there's another company who have lent.
Right, okay, sorry.
Lent Hamilton Academical's money. Now, we don't know how much money. There was talk of it being up to £250,000. And this is an organisation called Funding Globe.
Right.
And the trouble is that Funding Globe, to say that they are a niche lender, I think is being very polite. And one of their guys called Johnny Towers, which you couldn't have come up with a name sort of more theatrical than Johnny Towers.
Ohio Valley Wrestling would come up with a name like Johnny Towers.
True, yes, perhaps he has that link. He has, I think, become a director of the Ackies. But when Funding Globe lent money to Hamilton Academicals Football Club Limited, it did so under the realms of a debenture, effectively a secured lending, just like you or I when we took out our mortgages. You looked at the small print. The small print said, "If you fail to make payments, we're going to take your house." Right. Now, in the case of Funding Globe, this went a little bit further. It not only gave Funding Globe the rights to any properties owned by the football club. Now, the football club doesn't own its property. That's owned by another former owner, just to add another layer of complications into it. But one of the assets of Hamilton Academical Football Club is the hamiltonackies.co.uk website. So it looks as if the football club defaulted on the loan. It was clearly only a very, very short-term loan. And as a result, the Funding Globe appeared to be squatters on the website, and they have put up a notice. And you can't go to match reports, and you can't find out who the manager is, and you can't find out what next season's away kit is going to be. You just go to one page on the Hamilton Ackies website, and that says the club is in danger of going into administration, and it's and that's it. So they are effectively cyber squatting because they do have the legal rights over the website as a result of this default. Now it looks as if Morley Sports Management are fighting back. They are saying we are going to do our very level best to prevent this taking place. It's a bit of a misunderstanding, which I'm always slightly sceptical about. In legal, if you've got a misunderstanding, you really should have sorted this out a wee bit earlier. So we await developments. And just to add to the already big pile of sad news coming out of Hamilton Academicals, there are 2 claims from former employees with relation to sexual harassment claims, one of which was settled last year, where a former employee was given a £5,000 in compensation. Was awarded £5,000 in compensation, but that has been unpaid by the club. Right. So therefore now they're having to go through a civil route. And there is another claim which is due to take place, I think, in the next week or so. None of this reflects well on the club, and it just appears to be one huge mess, which, if you're a Hamilton Ackies fan, is going to be a very depressing experience. But as we've always said, every fan loves their club equally. Every club, therefore, deserves equal efforts to make sure it's able to be preserved.
Well, unfortunately, Kieran, history tells us that fighting any bid to be put into administration is difficult because it's not a step that the EFL or the SPFL would take lightly, and it normally means that you've done something bad enough or big enough rule breaking to be given that sanction. it's such a mess. I mean, all I could say is, as we say again, if anybody from any of these groups wants to talk to us on air to give us some clarification, especially fans groups, and we'd love to talk to them. And this is not a big club, Kieran, but this is an old, established,
Yeah,
traditional
absolutely.
Scottish club. You know, it's just the very name indicates what the background of the club. It's fought and scrapped for its survival in that part of Scotland for years, decades, and it's beholden on all of us to give them as much help as we can.
And also, you think about those train journeys that you go on with the lads,
Yeah.
where you have to name every different unique name in English football. So I've got a City, I've got a Rovers. You go through it, and Academicals is always one which trips people up, and therefore for that alone, let alone the football, it has to be preserved.
Well, that's just the reason why football quiz buffs like St Johnstone so much. It's the only J, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, we got a little bit of stick, Kieran, by which I mean you got a little bit of stick, merely for reporting the Cardiff City EFL transfer embargo. That's all you did. You reported that there was a transfer embargo. You said this could be a storm in a teacup. You said it could be an indication of something bigger. You said it would be resolved quickly. That bit you got right. So hopefully there's a few apologies coming your way, Kieran, from those people who tutted at you in two languages.
It's weird because I also reported that the transfer embargo was over, and that got 3 likes. It's died on its ass, which and I cannot stress this enough. I do not have a dog in fights, apart from the fact that I'm pro football fan. If owners are doing things, my view is that I'm a big believer in transparency, and therefore things should be reported, both good and bad news. I always try to make sure that I don't express positive or negative language or opinions. And as I said at the time with Cardiff, I think this is solvable relatively quickly. So the good news for Cardiff City is that a few days ago, I pop on practically every day, if truth be told, but don't let the Baroness know that. I pop onto the EFL embargo website, and Cardiff City have now been removed. The only club remaining on that is sadly our good friends at Sheffield Wednesday, and hopefully we'll make progress on there once we get this deal over the line. So the good news for Cardiff fans, still 10 days left of the window, and therefore you're able to go full steam. I think they've already made one signing. Yeah. They're doing spectacularly well at the top of League One, and we wish them all the best for the rest of the season.
As you know, obviously, Kieran, because we actually just recorded one before we came on air today. That sounds good. Before we pressed record today, we're quite often sponsored by our good friends at Babbel, the language learning app. One of the reasons I'd quite like to learn German is because they come up with the most amazing invented words. And a mate of mine who is German told me recently, obviously I can't remember, it's one of those very long German compound nouns, but it means the disappointment at not getting as many likes for a clever tweet as you thought you'd get. Which just made me laugh so much. That's the sort of nationality you want to be that comes up with a word, because it's exactly that. You think that's a really good joke. Well, I've only got a couple of there you are.
I got 1.5 million views for a tweet at the weekend saying that I couldn't tell the difference between the Wolves outfield shirt, the Wolves goalkeeper shirt, and the ball. I thought, that was me. I'm a passionate about being colourblind, and I'm the first to admit it is not a disability. It's an inconvenience. Yeah, it's more of an inconvenience for people who are passengers in a car when I'm driving. But,
tell me. That's
what just go through? What line? Yeah, all the same.
I'm sure I've told people this before, but you chose a moment to tell me you were colourblind, and that moment was when you were driving me home from Leicester.
Yes.
Until that stage, I was unaware that you were colourblind at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And you stayed awake for the rest of the journey.
Of course, yes, I did. Well, speaking of which, Kieran, we're going to have a break from tradition here by inserting a short interview you did recently. And the reason I wanted to put it in here is I think slightly more people listen to the news pod than the questions pod, and I think this is an issue that needs to be talked about and spread around the world, in fact, because our very good friends at Level Playing Field recently said that failures to address accessibility concerns for the upcoming World Cup risk excluding disabled supporters. And yesterday, Kieran, you spoke to Liam Bird, who's head of fan engagement and supporter services at Level Playing Field, and this is what he had to say.
Liam, thanks for coming on, especially at relatively short notice. Can you just tell us a wee bit about Level Playing Field and your role there?
Yeah, it's a Level Playing Field national organisation that advocates and campaigns for greater access and inclusion for disabled sports fans to access and watch live sport. My role is essentially I'm the person who will advocate and shout on behalf of disabled fan groups, so DSAs, individual disabled supporters. I have a kind of a joke at Level Playing Field that is my job is to shout the team and for them to then go shout at clubs, but in a more polite way. So I'm very much kind of the angry man at Level Playing Field, and the rest of the team are kind of the calming, soothing, getting real things done, whereas I just stand my feet and tell them, let's sort this out now.
Okay. And by the sounds of things, I think everybody has a right to be fairly angry with regards to the World Cup, and we're only 5 months away. So what's Level Playing Field's research? What have you found out so far with regards to access for all fans?
Well, I mean, what do we know? We know very little because FIFA have given out very little. So what are concerning us is essentially choice, cost, and clarity. So accessible ticketing don't appear to be available across the same tiers as non-accessible tickets. So for people who may not know, it's 4 tiers. So tier 4 is the phantom $60 tickets. Tier 1 are the really expensive tickets. And it seems that the accessible spaces seem to be in between tier 1 and tier 2 and a couple in tier 3. So already there's a price difference if you have a disability. And then it's the lack of knowledge of if your PA, which is a personal assistant or companion, these are people who will attend a match day with a disabled person and essentially support them and assist them so they can have a barrier-free game, go watch football. They don't know if that's free, which it is in the UK and is for most of Europe, and was the case in Qatar. The Qatar World Cup companion tickets were completely free. So at the moment, disabled fans don't know if they're paying double. And I say that as in they're paying for themselves and then paying for a PA. And then in some cases, there's no guarantee that your companion will even be sat next to you. So let's say if you have a complex disability and you need 3 companions for you to go and watch a match day, there's no guarantee that you're going to have those 3 people next to, so 2 people next to you. So again, it's that lack of knowing and a lack of understanding of what am I buying at the moment, because disabled fans are asking to spend a hell of a lot of money for very little knowledge of what they're spending their money on.
That's absolutely staggering. So what you're saying is that presumably FIFA ultimately are responsible for ticket pricing and ticket accessibility. Qatar 2022, that sounded as if it went reasonably smoothly, at prices which were acceptable. And is this being driven by the American authorities? Is this being driven by FIFA, or are you just operating in a void because you're getting no communication?
Well, it's so in America, it's not the norm, I suppose, to have companion tickets as a reasonable adjustment. That's how we would call it. So a free companion ticket is a reasonable adjustment for the disabled person. However, there are clubs in America, in MLS, who we've spoken to, and in the NBA, who do give complimentary tickets. So it's not like it's something that's completely new to them. And also, my understanding is that FIFA essentially controlled the World Cup. Like, they're the ones who set the guidelines. So even if America don't usually have companion tickets for an NFL or an NBA game, it's FIFA's tournament. So you incorporate it. You're the ones who's setting out the guidelines. So if you have it in Qatar, there's no explanation given why you're not having this complimentary ticket in America. It just seems like it's a reason just to price fans out of going to the game. And unfortunately for disabled fans, the cost of attending is already massive. Before you even factor in going to the game, you've got to get accessible hotels, which can be more expensive than general allocation. Non-accessible. Accessible. General hotel tickets. Then you got to factor in transport. Public transport might not be accessible, so you're using Ubers, taxis, which again is an extra cost. And as I spoke about, you may have to pay for your companion. So not everyone has a brother, sister, mum, father who likes football, who can do that. Like non-disabled people, disabled people might not have that family structure. So their love of football or any sport is based on them having to pay for someone to essentially be their companion and help them enjoy a match day. So at the moment, like I said, for disabled people, this World Cup is becoming unreasonable, not only on limited information, but just on the sheer cost of attending.
That's absolutely incredible. And we were having a chat before we started recording, and you mentioned to me at the time that you could have a disabled fan who gets a ticket for a match, but their assistant, their partner, will have a ticket for elsewhere in the stadium because you can't guarantee two tickets together. That is completely bonkers. Surely FIFA have some responsibility, or do FIFA just make up the laws as they go along?
I mean, FIFA do have regulations that they should be following. Again, in Qatar, that wasn't an issue. There are certain situations whereabouts if a disabled person does have the need for multiple PAs, it's not the way that stadiums are kind of historically been laid out. It's usually if you're a wheelchair user, you have your PA next to you. Mm-hmm. There may be cases whereabouts you're a wheelchair user and you'll have two PAs next to you. That can be facilitated. Where the problem becomes is like, let's say you're a wheelchair user and you want to go with your family. So they say you're a family of, let's just do the average of 2.4 children, like that kind of mindset. You're not going to be sat together. You're just not. And to be fair, that's not just a FIFA issue. That's a sporting issue in general, that when we talk about stadium designs, we don't factor in that disabled people will have families and want to go watch it with their fellow supporters. We're talking a lot about wheelchair users, not just wheelchair users. I mean, if you are deaf of hard of hearing, you might need a BSL interpreter as well to communicate on the match day. Again, that is a PA. That should be a reasonable adjustment to allow a disabled fan to be able to access and watch live sport in the same way that anyone else would take for granted.
That's absolutely staggering. We've had John Attenborough on the show. I don't know whether
I know John, yeah.
You know John, and John was absolutely amazing. So are there any tickets available for blind fans? Will there be support for blind fans, or again, is it just going up against a wall of silence from FIFA?
I think for blind fans, FIFA will probably see it as GA ticket. They might not see it as you need any reasonable adjustment for your chair. However, that isn't correct. In John's case, he will be taking his assistance dog. His assistance dogs will need space to be able to lay down and sit. That might take up a space of a wheelchair user space or an easy access seat. Again, this is whereabouts it comes down to the fact that from what I'm hearing, let's use Scotland, for instance. Scotland have only been provided by the Scotland FA have only been provided by FIFA 12 wheelchair user spaces. So take, for instance, the Hard Rock Cafe. Okay, that's going to be Scotland, Brazil. Probably one of the biggest games any Scotland fans ever going to get to witness. That stadium has around about 300 wheelchair user spaces. However, only 12 have gone to Scottish fans. This is what we're hearing. And this is the not even funny. This is the sick bit. Of those 12 spaces, from our understanding is that if you need a PA, one of those allocations will go to your PA. So let's say 6 wheelchair users need a PA.
Yep.
And that is your allocation goal. So it's not even 12, it is 6. So again, like what you're essentially creating is a ecosystem which is saying you are not welcome at this World Cup.
That's absolutely staggering. So it does seem so unwelcoming, and FIFA have been trumpeting that this World Cup is going to make more money than ever before, and yet they don't seem to accept that fans come from a variety of backgrounds, and some are disabled, and so on. How do you think things are going to develop going forward? We're now in mid-January. Anybody that's booking a ticket still has a chance. We've just had the lottery finish, but there's going to be another batch of tickets available. Do you have any plans in terms of your relationship with FIFA or even the Football Association? Can they not lobby on behalf of disabled fans? Are you getting any noise coming back from any of the governing bodies at all?
So regarding FIFA, we wrote to them the moment that the ticket allocation and the lack of ticket information came out, and that was around about a month ago. We've had no public response from them. That we have had an acknowledgement from FIFA and essentially said, we we understand your concerns. This is something we're speaking about. We'll get back to you. We expected them to get back to us before that lottery deadline. That never happened. So that's when we put out another press release, essentially saying that the silence is just unnecessary and causing stress. Regarding the FA, we have been in dialogue with the FA, and as far as we're aware, the FA are also in dialogue with FIFA. I've got a feeling that the FA of Scotland and England are probably just as frustrated as a lot of the supporters, because again, how can you engage with an organization whereabouts on the face of it, they seem to be, all they want to talk about is how much money and finance they're making, which any person, any fan doesn't walk away from a game and go, oh, they made a bit of cash that day, didn't they? No one cares. No one cares. Give us the actual information we care about. And then at least then you won't have this reputation of just being who you are. All fans ever want is information and things just to work.
Yes.
And factor in for disabled fans, all they want to do is go to a game and enjoy it and not have to worry about, am I going to have to remortgage a house just because I need to take a PA with me? And I'm sure a lot of Scottish fans, but I'm focusing on Scotland fans because this is their first World Cup in many years. They will be thinking about this. For some Scotland fans, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and are not going to let price be a part of it. However, it's what happens after that World Cup. What have they sacrificed financially to go and watch a game of football? No fan should have to worry about bankrupting themselves to go and watch a game, which is called the common man's game. It's just not now. It's become a lottery of wealth, and if you're a disabled person, a lottery of access, and that's not what the World Cup is about.
And you also said that people who aren't disabled can, via some of the secondary sites, acquire tickets for disabled people, and they're snapping them up because there don't appear to be any system of checks and balances to ensure that they are getting to people who have got disabled issues to deal with.
That seems to be the case. So obviously Reddit's probably not the bastion of truth, but looking on Reddit comment boards, there are people who are saying that they have legitimately accidentally bought accessible tickets and they just didn't know what it meant. So if you say to someone easy access seating, not everyone's going to know what that is. So they've probably just gone and gone, oh, there's some tickets here. Great, I'm going to grab it. But then those accessible tickets are being sold on the market, which I understand FIFA are making a profit from. So there is essentially people profit. Well, FIFA will be profiting from people who have manipulated the accessible features that are going to be provided at this World Cup, and they're going to make a profit of non-disabled fans taking accessible seating, which I've already explained are very, very limited. So again, those seats aren't going to be made available for disabled fans because someone's taken a punt on spending thousands of pounds on a seat, and they're willing to take any seat that they can get.
Incredible. This is all very disturbing, depressing. Just sort of to finish with, hopefully on a positive note, does this problem exist at Wembley or in Hampden and the stadiums in Belfast and Cardiff and so on? And if I was going to the Euros, for example, and I was a disabled fan, in your experience, is this very much a new feature? And this appears to be a huge step backwards by FIFA, UEFA, and the individual football associations taking a a more professional and structured approach.
So, it's my understanding that in this country, let's say if we were going to watch a game at Brighton, for instance, you would have to show proof of disability, which every disabled fan listening to this podcast will know what that is, and it's certain rates of what we call PIP that you would have to show the club. Up to the Euros coming up, I don't know what the ticketing system's going to be, but I'd be very surprised if we are not providing complimentary companion tickets and PA tickets, because if we're not, level playing field, we'll be shouting at the top of our voice. Funny enough, actually, after this call, where we are hosting a forum for disabled fans who follow England men and women, to make sure that there's kind of like an active voice being created to the run up to the 28 Euros, because I think that's really important. But even in Germany, the last Euros which I attended, the companion tickets were free then. So again, like UEFA major competitions, Champions League, Europa League, Euros, they're
you better mention the Europa Conference for Kevin.
Europa Conference, yeah, sorry. As a Forest fan, we're not in that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't think he knows you're a Forest fan. Let's keep that quiet.
But yeah, it seems to be a FIFA thing, and for a major competition, and it dumbfounds me of how they've come that this is the greatest guidance that they can come with is charging disabled people more than non-disabled people to go and watch live sport. Because if you just say that out loud, charging non-disabled people more than charging disabled people more than non-disabled people, that's discrimination.
I don't think there's necessarily protective legislation in the United States, and I suspect I would be surprised if anything is rushed through in the next 5 months as well. Well, Liam, thank you so much for giving up some of your time, and we saw this story and we wanted to run it. We're not an activist or campaigning show, but we're on your side. I'm sure you know this. So thanks again, and I just wish we get FIFA if you are listening, and we know that some of you do at FIFA listen to us. Give a quick word with the person making the decision and get back and at least have some clarity and transparency. Fobbing people off by not answering emails is shabby.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also they're a literal vampire. And suddenly my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
In the most infinitesimal way, Kieran, I've had some experience recently of the frustrations of not being able to get into places because you've either got a Zimmer frame or a walking stick, and they're very easily get roundable. Those issues very easily get roundable. I'd say Palace have been fantastic when we talk about going back again. All sorts of lovely ways to help out, but that's a bloke with a walking stick who could, if necessary, be carried in, and would probably quite enjoy waving at the crowd as that happened. But this is, along with the Olympics, this is the biggest sporting event in the world. Okay, there's no two ways about that. It'll be watched by billions of people on TV worldwide, and people with accessibility issues have got every single right to be in the grounds as we have, essentially. So this is an issue that we need to be taking up with people. We need to be asking our FA what they're doing to say to FIFA, what are you doing about this? We need to be asking FIFA what they're doing about this. So essentially, again, it comes back to money, because the accessibility they're being offered, as Liam Bird told you, is at basically the lowest level. And also, am I right? Did I hear that properly? They're not being offered help with people who can help them with assisted. Is this right? Just can you sum up what Liam told us?
I mean, if you go to a match in this country and you're in a wheelchair or you're disabled in another form, and you need, for want of a better phrase, a personal assistant, you need somebody to accompany you to, then normally that person will be allowed into a ground for free, because they are providing a valuable service. And we criticise the football authorities and the football clubs at times, and we give them credit at times, and I think that they deserve huge credit for the efforts to make things more accessible. Some clubs more successfully than others, it has to be said, but the broad principle here. And I think it is utterly shameful of FIFA, because FIFA are setting the prices, and what FIFA are just trying to do, they are just trying to generate as much money as they can from the richest people who can attend football matches. And if you're a disabled fan and you are not uber wealthy, as Liam was saying, you've already missed out, because we now have the crazy situation that if you go on to the touting websites, people are selling tickets for disabled people who are able-bodied at extortionate prices. And if you go to a match in this country and you are disabled and you've got your assistant, you have to have a document which is an agreed procedure. FIFA do not want to know about disabled fans. Gianni Infantino, who when he first came, I thought, well, this could be a breath of fresh air, has proven to be an absolutely abject leader of FIFA in so many ways. And sadly, our own football association, as usual, is doing the impression of an ostrich. It does not want to know. So it's a case of being awkward about it, because the work for England fans going to Wembley is very good, but it seems completely spineless, as we've seen at the 2022 World Cup, and we're now going to see at the 2026 World Cup, because the focus is, we just need to focus on football. Well, here's the thing, the FA, football's about fans.
The FA's response isn't good enough. We've reached out to FIFA until we're blue in the face about certain things. We know people from FIFA listen to us. We know when we did that event at Spurs Stadium last year, we were approached by people from FIFA at a lower level who said they would love to be able to come and talk to us. We know the FA listens to us. We need somebody from the FA to talk to us about this. It's a simple, and if they don't, in our own small way, we'll keep nagging publicly until they do, because this just isn't right. It just can't stand, Kieran. It's whatever the politics of Donald Trump and Infantino, morality trumps money sometimes. As simple as that. The right thing to do is the right thing to do. They're making zillions out of that football tournament. There's no excuse to treat people like this. There's no excuse to treat football fans in general the way they're going to treat them at the World Cup, but there's even less excuse to treat disabled football fans here. So we've got three more stories, Kieran. In a kind of way, all have American links. If only for the first one that Jim Ratcliffe has American links. But this is about his French club.
Yes. Always one to swim against the tide is offshore, Jim. That's why he's offshore.
That's why he can't get back. He'd love to be onshore, Jim, but he just can't swim against the tide.
He's swim against the tide. That's right. So, I hadn't thought about that before I said it. At a point in time where we have seen a huge expansion in the multi-club ownership model, Jim Ratcliffe is reducing the size of his football portfolio by trying to sell his French club Nice And by all accounts, he's had to drop the price. I think he was looking for 300 or 400 million euro. He's now dropped the price apparently to around about 200 million euro. So what is the reason behind this? Is because French football is what we are all scared English football might turn into, i.e. a collapse of the TV market. I honestly think that the enthusiasm of English football fans is so intense that won't happen. It will always be the jewel in the crown of Sky, and they know they'll have to renew those rights. But the collapse of the broadcasting deal, the lack of globalization of interest in French football, it's not like the Premier League, has led to the clubs losing substantial amounts of money. So if you've got less money coming in, it becomes less valuable. If, for example, if I was a landlord and I had to cut the rents of my property, then if I tried to sell that property, it becomes worth less money. So he's had to make a substantial reduction. Why he's trying to sell his French club? Remember Chelsea bought Strasbourg in France a few years ago, or Chelsea's owners did. It's not quite work out. It's got to say that Nice had one of their most successful seasons last season when they weren't allowed to be controlled by Ineos because they were in the same competition as Manchester United, and therefore Ineos had to go and put the shares into a blind trust. And to be fair, and let's face it, I am a person who is critical of Jim Ratcliffe, not because of his politics. I think I'm not even particularly aware of his politics. It's the fact that I don't like anybody that makes people lose their jobs in Manchester. That's it. But even he acknowledged that our French club appears to be doing better without me than with me. So we won't see. But also, congratulations to Manchester United on deservedly beating Manchester City. I know it's not a football show, but that was probably the best match of the weekend as well. After a weekend where I think football stank out the airwaves in terms of what we saw on the telly.
Well, you may recall that I did say to you before we recorded the questions pod, there's no point in Brighton Bournemouth being played because it would be 1-1.
You did.
We could have just saved ourselves. Man United were fantastic. Thoroughly deserved that win. Not quite sure they thoroughly deserved every single Sports Reporter game. Man United are back. Finally, they're back.
They've not known that before in the last 13 years, have they?
I think, Kieran, it's fair to say that Chelsea and Strasbourg have a more symbiotic relationship than Man United and Nice did. It might be that it went under the radar, but clearly Chelsea and Strasbourg, as we've seen with Chelsea's new manager, but clearly Strasbourg fans will say Chelsea are treating them like a feeder club, but whether that's true or not, but there is a relationship, there is a swapping of players, I presume a swapping of expertise and coaching staff as well, which we didn't seem to see with it. It seemed like Ratcliffe owned two separate clubs rather than two clubs in the same multi-club model.
I think they certainly seem to be operating completely independently. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
which in that case it makes you wonder why he had. Well, he's not. He's getting rid of one, but a reasonably large American football team. There's no way around saying his soccer team has been sold this week.
Yeah. And the only reason why we're covering this is Sporting Kansas City, part of MLS, and fans of the show might be saying, "Are they an MLS club?" Yeah, they are in exactly the same way. And we have to acknowledge this, that if there's an American soccer fan of the Premier League, they probably won't know who Brighton or Crystal Palace are. Crystal Palace are the FA Cup holders.
Thank you. Thank you. Saved me a job there, Kieran. Thank you.
That's okay. Or so on. What is intriguing about this is that Sporting Kansas City, who are I think they're the 16th in the table, they were sold for $700 million.
Whoa!
Exactly. So when you think that. I'm aware of the potential asking prices for both of our clubs, and I think if Steve Parish or Tony Bloom was offered $700 million, they'd go, "Oh, that's quite." I'm not saying they'd want to sell. There's a separate issue there. But I think that they're probably worth around about that or a wee bit less for established Premier League clubs whose matches are being broadcast around the world, who are stacking out their stadiums and so on. So why is this price? As I always say, that's the what. What's the why? And it's because that American entertainment valuations have gone through the roof. Investors don't like risk. And in MLS, you've not got risk of relegation. You've not got the risk of failure to qualify for the American equivalent of the Champions League and so on. So it is a far more de-risked investment opportunity than investing in European football. It's got far greater cost control because the wage cap is effectively imposed by owners. So therefore, if there's less money going to players, there's more money available for those, and that has a positive impact upon valuation. So it shows that going back to our early story about Ascent Capital Partners, what do they want, and what do all of these American owners want? They want something similar, and I've certainly, I've been in conversations with people saying we think that there is an alternative in terms of greater cost control, greater wage control, and I go, okay, try selling that to fans. When you're saying that, the extent of our ambition this season is to have the 15th biggest wage in the Premier League or in League Two, because you're effectively saying that's where we're prepared to finish in the table. There isn't the same sharing of revenues, and this is the paradox of American franchise sports: is that the world's most capitalist country has the world's greatest sharing of revenues. And that does lead to greater competitive balance on what you see on a variety of pitches that you will see in the United States.
If I was a sporting Kansas City fan, Kieran, I would drive everybody up the wall going to away games, because every time the train left the station, I would say, I don't think we're in Kansas City anymore. And I'd probably have a little fluffy Toto the dog as well, just to round. I don't think Kansas City is in Kansas, is it? Which ruins that joke. It's in Missouri, I think, isn't it? Well, that's another thing that annoys me about America at the moment. Just name places after where they are. And
yes.
Give your roads proper names as well. First Avenue. It's just lazy. What should we call that? First Avenue. All right, that sounds good. What about that really broad way? Oh, yeah. Talking of entertainment, Kieran, our last story brings us offshore Jim again, Manchester United, and the world of entertainment.
Yes. We've said on more than one occasion that Manchester United is a soap opera masquerading as a sporting entity. And that is not to denigrate. I have loads of friends who are completely dedicated Manchester United fans, and they say the noise around Manchester United is ridiculous. So yes, this has been broken by Adam Crafton, again a report I hold in very high regard at The Athletic. It seems that Manchester United have signed a multi-million-dollar deal with production company Lionsgate. I think Jed Mercurio is going to be one of the writers for this.
Wow.
So,
Jed's
he's written
good.
some absolutely brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a dramatised retelling of the club's history. I'm intrigued as who is going to play the place of Rocco Gibraltar, the horse, which...
who's going to play Bobby Charlton? There'll be... I bet George Best is about 6'4" as well in this. Bobby Charlton will have a massive quiff because the actor will say, "I'm not going board." Do you know? I sometimes feel we should apologise to Man United fans, Kieran, especially those from Manchester and Salford, because it's kind of Hamilton in reverse. Like we're always saying, to Hamilton Academicals fans, it's the most important club in the world, and we sort of dismiss sometimes that to Man United fans, genuine Man United fans, it's the most important thing in the world. They're amazing fans, and I think for some reason we kind of to sort of reverse elitism there. But it's just our way of trying to acknowledge that Man United and Hamilton Academical are both as important in their
Absolutely.
own way in the football ecosystem, and they both deserve to carry on existing. Don't forget, you can now join our Price of Football club. There'll be Olivia Coleman a bit. Olivia Coleman will play Matt Busby, won't she? I mean, because working on the basis that she'll have to be in it. And she could play Dennis Law's daughter, who used to be run the press. That would be good. But Olivia Coleman will have to be in it somewhere. Quite Benedict Cumberbatch. What could he play? He'll play somebody from Newton Heath, and he'll play some kind of factory worker who leads them all out on strike. His accent keeps slipping. Don't forget, you can now join our Price of Football club, where you'll get ad-free listening, access to our full back catalogue, bonus episodes, Zoom quiz invites, the special pod that we're about to record, where we discuss nothing but the casting of the new Man United film, and much, much more. Just go to priceoffootball.com and click on Join the Club to sign up today. If you have a question you'd like answered on our weekly question show, then email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, you can find us on YouTube, and if you'd like to buy our book, you can find details on that very same website, priceoffootball.com. We'll be back next Tuesday with our next questions pod. In the meantime, I shall hand you over to Mr. Kieran Maguire for his customary farewell.
Well, as thank you to everybody that's been in contact, especially I've been really touched by the number of kind messages I've had following my colourblindness tweet. Because I think it's fair to say there was initially a bit of a pile-on, sort of how do you know those colours are different? Well, because my wife isn't colourblind, and when I point out to her, she said, "Well, no, one's green, and one's yellow, and one's orange, but for me, they are all identical." So, I do think, and I'm not bothered in the least, but just be a bit nicer to people. You wouldn't go up to a blind person in a zoo and say, "What animal's that?" pointing at a giraffe, expecting them to know the answer, would you? So why this really intriguing approach that people, when you tell, "Oh yeah, I'm colourblind," so that the point is, "What colour's that?" Yeah, I'm colourblind. How on earth am I supposed to know? But a load of people came to my defence, and I was genuinely touched. Thank you to everybody at the club, and you will have just been listening to your dedicated questions and answers show earlier this week as well. There's another way you can support Price of Football, folks. There's another way, and that's to spend 30 seconds on your app. And I quite like you could even write about the dramatised version of The Price of Football, written and presented by Jed Mercurio. Or we could also have Sylvester Stallone, because for anybody that saw, wasn't it in Escape to Victory? He was in.
Yeah. Good, yeah.
And he played and he was so shit at football that he could only play in goal, so he could go and play the part of Peter Schmeichel in the Manchester United documentary. Like, you should imagine him trying to do a Scandi accent.
I want Ray Winston playing me. But then Ray Winston, he'll be Uncle Terry, wouldn't he?
He'll be Uncle Terry. He's got to be Uncle Terry.
Uncle Terry, yeah. Oh, in that case, I'll go for David. Imagine that would be some little agent somewhere in the centre of London, despairing that he can't get work for his one very tall middle-aged actor and one slightly chubby middle-aged actor with a limp. And suddenly he gets the call. They're doing a Price of Football film. At last, lads, I've got you the role you've always wanted. And then Benedict Cumberbatch will be playing Producer Guy. Bye, everybody.
The Price of Football. The Price of Football.